Hello everybody out there in Victoria 3 land. I've got a good friend who does a city Skylines series called More Money, Less Traffic, and it gave me the idea to call this one More Money, Less Revolutions. So here we go with More Money, Less Revolutions. I want to talk about some mods that will help the economy and some strategies that will help the economy. For the mods, the first one I want to recommend is Chongqing's, and I hope I said that right. If not, my apologies. Factory expansion, only industry. Now there's another version of this that will include some other factors. I wasn't a fan of that. I turned them off. They had options to turn them off, but it still added extra text in the game. This does not add any additional technologies. It simply separates buildings, so you will not have to make luxury clothes in regular clothing factories. You won't have to make radios in telephone factories. Some of the starting text for these are a bit off. I understand that completely. Nevertheless, play with it how you will. You could always restrict yourself to say, look, I won't build radios until I discover radios. Put yourself on your own honor. Let the AI cheat. It needs all the help it can get anyway. And enjoy building each factory dedicated to one product and only one product. This mod does not deactivate building methods in other factories, so you can still play vanilla with most of your other factories, but then if you need a little extra oomph with a particular product, you could build a factory dedicated to that product. It's a great mod. I'm enjoying it incredibly much. The next one I want to recommend, almost mandatory, is Subsistence Farms Employment Fix. Now in version 1.5, it introduced a calculation that meant that subsistence farms were way better than they used to be, so no peasants would ever leave the farms. This is a problem. This fix will make it where subsistence farms have a much lower level of living that they'll permit, and it will make people want to leave those farms and go to the big city to get better jobs. This fixes something, and I'm sure in the next hot fix or 1.6 that'll be addressed. There could always be some other thing that has to get patched over, but this one takes care of that issue. So if you don't have peasants going to the cities to get in those industries, this patch helps you out. Finally is the 1.5 version of a mod that I've enjoyed for a long time, market shortages, and we can see it over here on the side. What this will do is it'll show, well, where your market shortages are, but also the top 4 surpluses and the top 4 deficits. So for example, the market needs a lot of wheat and a lot of chairs, a lot of tools, but only tools is a real shortage that's impacting the ability of other industries to do their thing. That's going to be an important area to address. You always want to make sure that the input goods for an industry are available and affordable, so that way the industries down the line are also profitable. If you're charging a whole lot of money for tools, well, that's great for the tool manufacturers, but not so great for the people who need the tools to become more profitable themselves. But market shortages is a powerful mod that lets you track the economy right over here on the right hand side. So now that I've mentioned those mods, I want to go ahead and get into some strategies here. This is the German Empire in 1869. I've benefited from being able to intervene in various other wars and only say, hey, become my subject or give me a bit of land in order for me to be involved. What happened? Well, Sweden had a little bit of a war and I got involved with them. Now they're my subject. The British gave me Kenya and British Niger, as well as the Cape Colony. That was fun. And from that, I've been able to build up a nice empire. Oh yeah, and also taking a whack out of Austria. That was fun too. Well, just recently, I've conquered Transvaal, and I want to take a look at this state that I've conquered. Right away, I want to call your attention to the turmoil. 77%. They hate me here because I just conquered them. Whenever you conquer a state, that does increase the number of people who are upset and are radical, just because that's what a conquered population does. So since they really can't get all that much more angry at me, now's a great time to blow up some factories that are non-productive. Sure, it means tossing the people out on the street, but like I said, they can't get any angrier at me, and this will allow me to clean out stuff that is dragging the economy down and provide instead an opportunity for other industries to recruit from those unemployed populations and get them to be more profitable. One annoying thing is that these are always sorted by the size of the factory. So if I reduce the size of one, it's going to drop down on the list suddenly. And that means you don't want to go click, 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 click as fast as you can, because you're going to be shutting down industries that you may not have intended to. Or you could start from the bottom, like this paper mill. Not productive. He's out. Hardwood industry. Nope, not productive. And we'll see some more about that in just a minute. They're out. Glassworks, not productive. They're out. Artillery, no. Arms, no. Textile mills, yeah, they're okay. Steel mills, no. And you can tell because of the color there. If it's white or green, that's okay. If it's red, no, they're not making money there. Food industries, I've already looked at the economy here. No. And the tooling workshops, no. Let's get rid of those guys. And that's what we'll leave there. Iron mines, I think if we keep making iron here, though, that'll help the tools. No, they just need the wood. All right, well, then never mind. Get rid of the iron mines. Clunk. Oop, did take a hit on the tools. I guess I was wrong. Anyway, too late now. They don't have it. And let them be just a little bit angrier at me. That's fine. But we've cleaned them out to where now we've got a better industrial base there. The reason I have to do that is because prior to this conquest, they were focused on the Transvaal market. Now they're part of the German market. And that means there's a lot more in play in my market that will make what they did that may have been productive for their own internal market, no longer productive on the greater German market. I also had a rebellion here in South Angola. They're devastated because we just finished that fight. They're in turmoil as well. Let's see what they did while they were independent. All right, they didn't build anything out, and everything except the millet farm looks like it's productive. Let's take a look at this millet farm. They're doing the old school thing. What if we make it soil enriching farming? Now that substitution tells me it's going to go up. I don't have any notification here that says we don't have enough people to fill the need, so let's try that. See, the productivity at the top says 2.2. Now it's 3.2. All right, still not all that productive, but it's doing a little bit better, right? Given that the subsistence farm is around 4.5, that's why 3.2 is considered bad. People are not really going to want to flock to that farm. Well, we'll find out later. I do want to go to my political lens and reset production methods for both of these. This way we'll get them fixed over. Oh, wait, there's a rifle industry in South Angola? Hold on there. Everything else in Transvaal, that looks right, so we'll set them there. Let's go back to South Angola. How do I have an arms industry here? Well, that's a little glitch in the game. I don't have any factories, but it says I do. So let's just go ahead and add one and take it away. Now it's clean. Now when I go to reset production methods there, it's just the government administration. That's fine with me. Always check your production methods on areas that you just recently conquered or you had to reconquer because of a civil war. Now that we've cleaned up those areas, let's take a look at the general economy. When we see on this area here the productivity scale, it shows what the least productive factory is and what the most productive factory is. If nothing's in the red, you should be okay. If everything's in the green, wow, it's great. But if some of these green numbers are way too high, it could indicate that you've got a shortage and you need to bring those big numbers down a little bit more. But that's okay because the number will come down slowly as you expand production more quickly. So you're going to make more money when you multiply the new price times the larger number of units that you're making. It's more productive to make, say, 10 things at 8 pounds each than one thing at 20 pounds each. Yeah, that's a higher price, but 10 times 8 is 80, guys, and that's 4 times as much as 20. Keep that in mind. If the price is way high, you might start needing to build a bit more to bring it down to where it's more manageable. Now, if they're in the red, that means they're running at a loss. For the military goods, I'm subsidizing those because I want them available in case I have a war. I need that capacity. I may have overbuilt in some areas, or I may have inherited some when I unified. I should probably check Baden-Württemberg and Bavaria areas to see if any of those got built out too heavily. I could cut back on them. But one area that I know has got a problem is my hardwood industry. Let's take a look here. All right. Westphalia, Brandenburg, Saxony, Baden, all of these are doing terribly. Why is that? Well, if I go over here to my market, I notice that hardwood is something I'm making lots and lots of. Someone is really good at making hardwood, and I'm terrible at it. If I click on this, I'm going to see that 2,500 units of hardwood are coming out of my logging camps, but they're not mine. They're my puppet, Sweden. Remember, right, we had that little civil war. I intervened. They became my subject. Now they are very much part of my economy, and they are very good at making hardwood. I can't compete with that. So the best thing to do is to shut those down, and then these workers go somewhere else in the state to get their living. I've got plenty of other factories that need people. Let's go ahead and help them out. All right, that's the last one. Now no more hardwood factories. A spoiler alert, at some point the AI decides to build another hardwood industry, but just one. I just let it slide after that. And yes, that means I am going to compare the economy later on. This is 1869. We're going to fast forward to 1884 to take a look and see how things have happened with the economy over the next 15 years. I do want to call your attention to the standard of living. We're at 10.3. If this number goes up, then overall radicalism will go down. Total number of radicals is 13.9 million, so that's almost 14. Out of a population of almost 70 million, that actually makes it kind of easy. That's like 20% of my population is very unhappy with me. And you can see where the jumps were made. This is North German Federation, and then suddenly German Empire is made right there. And then we kind of grew a little bit more as we took over a few more areas. So you want to keep an eye on the percentage, because I could have, say, 100 million people with 15 million radicals, and that's actually a much lower percentage. It's only 15% as opposed to 20%. So keep that in mind. Actual number of loyalists, okay, it's 2.74 million. That's nice. Now, some things I can do to help improve the number of loyalists are passing legislation that people want. This one only gives me 445,000 more. But if there's a movement that comes along that could give me a few million when I pass it, absolutely, I'm on top of that thing. Another note you want to make is the idea of improving all the time, every time. Not always a good idea. For example, going to mechanized workshops, even though I do have enough people to fill the jobs, it's going to lose money for these places because they're going to overproduce on their furniture. What I might want to do is close down the least profitable factories, because doing this is going to make 990 more furniture. And if we do make another one, let's go here. Each one is going to make 40 more furniture and 25 more luxury furniture. Like I said, they still have that method turned on. I could turn it off and lose money that way. All right, so if we got rid of 990 furnitures, well, we could do it probably by taking out the ones in Transvaal. Oh, I thought they were okay. I guess they're not. And maybe Franconia as well. So that's 9 of them. That's about almost 400 furnitures out. And then we can take this and improve the total amount of furniture and maybe make them more profitable that way. But again, that's going to make the guys in Franconia and Transvaal upset. Brandenburg is also low, and I may want to actually keep some of these open and running and subsidize them, just so that way the populations don't throw rocks at me and become very angry. And that's always an option. You don't have to run a factory for a profit. If you think that stability is more important at a particular time, you run it at a loss and you subsidize it. There's also another idea that if you subsidize something that provides an input for something else, for example, tooling workshops. I'm about to get really industrial, and tools are going to be very important. If I take a tooling workshop that's running at a loss but subsidize it, I'm making lots of tools cheaply, and that will help build out the other industries that rely on tools. So don't always try to get a huge amount of money from every single good. Sometimes it makes sense to run things at a loss for a greater social good. Now, this is going to be horribly revolting to anybody who wants pure free market capitalism. But I'm also going to tell you, as an economist, there are things called market failures where that pure free market capitalism fails to generate the proper outcome. And if you're saying, give me an example, it's the way the AI builds things. That is actually kind of going along with pure free market capitalism, and the AI doesn't always make the right choices. It can't always back the right winners. That's where your decision as running the state comes into play, and deciding, let's run things at a loss. Now, for me, the things that I think are most important to subsidize, well, things for the military, because I need that army, but also in my development area, I want my river docks, my railways, and my ports subsidized, because those are important things for carrying the infrastructure of everybody around. I'll bear the burden of those, so that way it supports the overall economy. All right, welcome to the future. Here we are in 1884. Let's see how things have improved. First of all, peasants. In 1869, Bohemia had 814,000 peasants. Now they're down to 541. Now that's a good deal. Posen had about 250, and so did Silesia. Let's see where they are. Okay, well, here's Silesia at 4.7 and Posen at 5.4. So they've both lost about 240,000 peasants, or not lost them, they've rather got them employed when we built out a lot of industry in those areas. That has led to a dramatic rise in standard of living. Remember, we were like around 10 something, now we're at 12.2. We've moved up to number 23 worldwide. If you're wondering where I got that 15 and 100 million, that's from here. And yes, we do have a lot more people in the German Empire because, well, there's unification and there's conquests as we've added other areas and incorporated various puppets directly into the empire. And yes, we have 15 million people who are not happy. Why this 1.45? Well, we've got discrimination, still have some standard of living issues. We also have political movement things. Right after 1869 is when a big era of political upheaval comes along. And yeah, this is where we've got people who are saying we've got 5 million people on the side of one issue and 5 million people saying don't get that issue, and there's no way that both of them are going to be appeased. So you have to pick your fight and who you're going to stand with in order to determine where it goes. And for the presidential republic, I want to keep being an empire, so there was an agitator. I just exiled him, and that helped spike a little bit of unrest. But the overall economy, when we look back here, yes, we had a jump up, but we have an overall good economy, and that number is coming down because when people have good work and a good standard of living, they're not so mad. They can't stay mad. Another element adding to that is just flat out conquest. Picked up a chunk of Africa, another chunk of Africa. We've been colonizing out here. Picked up Oman, incorporated the East Indies. Yeah, there's been a bit of blood and iron going on. But over time, as the economy improves, they're going to get better. They're going to be happier. I like being able to use this market here to track how the economy is doing so I know what I have in short supply of and what I have an actual shortage. I love being able to have the different buildings separated so I can pick and choose how I'm going to expand my economy instead of trying to say, well, I've got this many clothing factories, so this other chunk are going to be dedicating themselves to luxury good production, but they're still going to make regular goods. No, none of that. I can split them all out. And you saw the impact of that mod that gets the peasants off the subsistence farms and into the cities to get jobs there. I picked up that mod after one game where I had 0 reduction in peasants, and I can say, and you can see the proof here, it works. I hope you've enjoyed this. I hope you're all about getting more money, less revolutions, and I'll have more to say on this subject in the videos to come.